Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles this morning. I'm Jen Hale here with Skip Bayless. Shannon Sharpe joins us from Atlanta. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi, Jen. Well, this is it.
Hey, Skip.
This is your night.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is benediction coronation night, right? This is what you've been telling me. So you know all. You are the seer of this show. So I'm just deferring to you today.
That'll be interesting.
We'll see how
I
that
just
goes.
want to make. I just want to make sure those 4 cases of dew are still in play. That's all I need to know.
Seriously? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come
Okay.
on.
Well, let's
Bring
do
it
it.
on.
Somebody's going to have a busy morning carrying dew in, whether it be tomorrow or Monday. So let's get right into Game 6. The Warriors have their backs against the wall once again tonight. It is their last home game ever at Oracle. Raptors up 3-2 and 1 win away from their first NBA title. The Warriors, though, are favored by 2.5 points. They're going to have to get it done, though, without Kevin Durant. So, Shannon, who do you think wins tonight?
I'm going to take the Warriors. I'm going to take the Raptors tonight because I don't believe they have that push, that 7-foot monster that they knew was going to be in Game 5. And he provided the spark, Skip, because he opened up the floor. He allowed Clay and Steph to get comfortable early on, and then Clay never lost his comfort level in shooting the three. Although Steph went cold a little bit in the second half, he found his niche when he found his mark when he really needed to in the fourth quarter. But I think Toronto has played great D all series long, and I believe they'll get back to that, especially not having to worry about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant also provided them something, Skip, on the defensive side. Because he's so long, getting extra rebounds, blocked Siakam's shot. Nothing came cheap early on for the Raptors, and therefore the Warriors were able to get to a lead, and they made Toronto play catch-up for the entire game. They only took the lead, the last 4 minutes of the ball game, had like a 6-point lead with about 3:05 left in the game to go. But I believe this time around, Skip, they will limit the amount of threes. You cannot let Golden State shoot 42 threes and then let them shoot a high percentage from the three-point line. More times than not, you will lose. I believe those threes will be tougher to come by tonight. They will contest more shots. They will bang the offensive glass like they've done all series long. And I believe they win a close ball game. And Kawhi Leonard would join Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James as the only men to win the Bill Russell Finals MVP trophy in 2 different locales.
Okay, I'm going to have to tell our control room I'm having a hard time hearing Shannon. It's going in and out, so forgive me for that. But I'm going to try to guess at what you were just saying, and I'm going to try to talk to it. I'm going to go with you this far. I don't love the Warriors' chances tonight because there's no good reason they should win this game because I don't have any evidence from the previous 3 games that Toronto has played at Oracle this year. There's no evidence that Golden State should even have a chance tonight because all 3 previous games were wipeouts. And I'm going to remind you, the regular season game, albeit way back in December, was a complete wipeout. It was 113-93. And guess who didn't play? My guy, number 2, did not play in that game. And it was 113-93. So what does that tell you? Because when he did play in Game 3, and when he did play, especially in Game 4, it was domination by the visiting team at Oracle, where the Warriors have not played very well all year long. Again, for the last time, I'm going to say this because this is the last night at Oracle. This year, they lost 6 home games by 20-plus points, and 2 of those games were by 30-plus. Those are just bad signs. And I'm going to give number 2 this. In Game 3, he was very good, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, a couple of steals, a couple of blocks. But in Game 4, that was his most overpowering game of this finals because he went 36-12 with 4 steals and a block and 0 turnovers, and he made 5 of 9 three-point shots and 9 of 9 free throws. You can't do a whole lot better than that. So that was the last time I saw Toronto on this floor doing that to them. And obviously tonight, the truth is, I'm just being honest with you, Number 2 should own this game. He will be the best player on the floor tonight because the best player on the planet obviously is in New York recovering from Achilles rupture reattachment. And it's obvious that Toronto has the better team with the much superior depth. So we start with all that, and then we add this onto it. I'm going to be honest with what I saw yesterday and heard from the rest of the Golden State players. I didn't love how they came out of the KD injury. It seemed to cast a weird pall over the team because it seems like even some of the players would have to be quietly questioning the integrity, the honesty of their coaching staff and their medical staff and their management. That's how it came across to me, to where instead of being inspired by KD's injury, like Clay tried to make the case for, it just seemed to me like they were a little deflated and, dare I say, disillusioned by how it all came about and why.
Well, yeah, Skip, I think the thing is that when you hear the medical staff says, well, if KD were to play, he can do no further damage. Okay, maybe he restrains the calf, but this was the extreme. Not only did the calf is the least of his problems. When you have an rupture of the Achilles as a basketball player, that changes the dynamic, and the quickest we've seen someone come back, and we've seen guys have this injury. Chauncey Billups had this injury. Dominique Wilkins had this injury. Rudy Gay had this injury. Basically, a conservative, you're looking at 9 months, Skip. That's being very, very, very.
All right.
But
now,
for the most part, guys take a year.
Okay, now back to Game 6 tonight. I picked the Warriors in 7. I'm sticking with them in 7, but I would like them in a Game 7 in Toronto more than I like them tonight. So tonight is the night. And I'm going to make the case, hanging with Golden State, that Toronto's going to have to lose the game tonight more than Golden State will win this game, because I don't think even Steven, level playing field, I don't think Golden State can beat that team head up. If they both play a good game to very good game, Toronto, you'll be right. Toronto will win. Number 2 will be crowned. He'll be the MVP.
Skip, if I'm hearing you correctly, you believe if they got to a Game 7, the pressure would be so great on Toronto that they would succumb to the pressure, and Golden State, having been in this environment before, would be able to win. So in other words, you feel more comfortable with the pressure of Game 7 being in their building being too much for them to overcome,
correct,
as opposed to them being in their own building in a Game 6.
Okay. This would boil down to, for me, Game 7 would become Clay versus feet of Clay, because I think Toronto would have feet of Clay in a Game 7. But in Game 6, it seems like Toronto is playing better away from the home pressure to do something that's never been done in the history of Raptors basketball, which is win an NBA championship. So tonight, my only hope is that the Warriors can hang on, and get to a fourth quarter in which the rim will start looking smaller and smaller and smaller to the visiting team. I think the visiting team will play well for 3 quarters. Then it'll come down to who makes the threes in the fourth quarter. And I still believe Golden State can make more threes in the fourth quarter.
Well, we do know this for certain. For whatever reason, and I don't know, I think he tries to replicate that when he goes home. Kyle Lowry plays.
He does. I told you that before that.
Exponentially better.
I told you before Game 3. You were all over him. I said, no, he'll play big in this game.
Skip, we've never seen anything like this, Skip. We've never seen a player of his caliber play so much better on the road than he does at home. And you mentioned getting to a Game 7, feet of clay. You hoping they have hands of stone, that all of a sudden
I agree.
The rim is thimble size as opposed to ocean size, and they can throw it into that.
That is
but
true.
for me, let me ask you this, Skip. Do you believe that Boogie Cousins can have a Game 2 and 5 in Game 6 or a Game 7 if necessary? Because I've seen nothing that would indicate that he can put together back-to-back games.
I have not either. I don't completely trust him tonight, because you're right. Every time to use your term, expectations rise for DeMarcus, he crumbles because he's never been on this stage with this kind of pressure. And all of a sudden, after a good game, he's like, ooh, now I'm expected to have it. The other night, he was not expected. He was the third string center. He was only thrust into the action because KD went down, and then all of a sudden, obviously Kevon.
Looney got hurt.
He couldn't stay.
Right.
He played for a while, then he couldn't go, and all of a sudden it's down to Bogut or bust, and it's kind of bust. So let's go with DeMarcus, and all of a sudden DeMarcus makes 6 out of 8 shots with nobody really expecting him to. So tonight he can be dominant in this game against Gasol. He can dominate him athletically, just on pure talent, size, strength. He's got all that. But he has to play with dominant poise on this stage, and I'm not sure that he can, which means we're back to this. Klay has to be dominant tonight for all 4 quarters. He has been their rock as a scorer and a shooter. And the reason, as I told you the other day, that they won Game 5 was he just kept scoring 6 points, 8 points, 6 points, 6 points. Every quarter, he made the key shots. So, again, can they make 20 of 42 threes as they did at Toronto? No, they won't. Could they make 17? They may need 17 to win tonight, and they're going to have to hope that Toronto stays in that 8 for 32 range, which was 25-ish%, okay? So it's going to come down to that. Go ahead.
Let me follow up on the Boogie Cousins. Skip, I'm not so sure Boogie would have even gotten in the game had Kevon Looney not gotten hurt.
Not.
Because they go Looney, Bogut. That tells me they really had no inclination to play Boogie, given what they had seen from him in games 3 and 4. But because Kevon Looney got hurt and they had no other option, you can't play Bogut 20, 25 minutes. So Boogie had to get inserted into the ball game. Another thing, to the three-point shot that you were mentioning, Skip, you can't let Golden State, they shoot too good. You can't let them get that volume of amount of threes up. You can't let them get 42 cracks at it. Because even if they shoot 36%, that's going to be 15 threes. That still might be too many. You need to hold, you got to chase them. Because remember, in Game 3, Skip, you said Steph, the threes, they were chasing, he was hitting a bunch of twos because they were chasing him off the three.
Yep.
That's what they're going to have to do. They got to chase Klay. They got to chase. But here's the thing. You can't run past him because what he will do, he will sidestep you and step back beyond the three-point line. So you have to run at him under control, and you can't do what Van Fleet did. Van Fleet fouled Steph on 1-3 for a 4-point play, and then he fouled him another time, and he got 3 free throws. You have to understand how to close these guys out when they're at the three-point line.
Okay. Speaking of Steph, I still say he owes his team for that collapse back in 2016 to your LeBron, Kyrie, Cleveland Cavaliers. Steph came up smaller than he is in those last 3 games, 5, 6, and especially 7 at Oracle. He still owes them. He hit the biggest three-point shot of his career in Game 5 at Toronto the other night, and it was the one to tie. And he caught it off the cut and just went straight up and shot it with conviction, and he made it after he'd gone 1 for 8 in the second half from 3. Well, they need a couple of flurries from him tonight. You know what I'm talking about at Oracle, when he makes 4 in a 2-minute span, 4 threes, because Oracle is going to be on hair trigger tonight to just blow the top off the roof. It is the last night. I do agree. We had Rick Bucher on, and he goes to every game at Oracle, and he said, last couple of years, fans have been so spoiled, they just sit on their hands and they wait for the team to bring them up out of their seats. Tonight, the crowd needs to try to fuel this team in ways it hasn't been for the last couple of years. And it needs to fuel the quote-unquote role players. You know what? Draymond Green hasn't had a big Draymond game in this whole series. Tonight, he's got to really come up huge, bigger than he is at about 6'6".
Right.
Remember what he did? You've brought this up before in Game 7 in 2016 when he was on that verge of being the MVP. His numbers that night in Game 7, he went 32 points, 15 rebounds, 2 steals, went 11 of 15 from the floor, 6 of 8 from 3. That was Draymond Green in Game 7, and it wasn't enough to get them over the top. Well, they need that game from him tonight to get them back to Toronto. So he's a big X factor. Yeah. And then Iggy's got to make a few open threes. And obviously Quinn Cook has to come in and make a couple of key threes. They're going to need a group effort. And in the end, I'm going to say this one last time, they just have to play a clean, fundamental game, which they have not for this whole series. You realize,
but that's not them, Skip.
Okay, but you realize they have averaged 17 turnovers a game for 5 finals. That's just wrong. It's hard to overcome that because they also make about 17 dumb plays a night where on defense or offense, They just do dumb things at dumb times, and after a while, it's hard to win in spite of yourself, to get out of your own way.
Right.
Well, just one night, I'd like to see dare I say, a 3-turnover game from Golden State, because at least it gives you a chance to have fewer empty trips. It gives you a chance to score a few points that are going to be crucial down the stretch.
Well, Skip, the thing is, and also Van Fleet and guys that's chasing Clay and Steph, if you ever get in a trail position, you're done. Because they're going to find that pick. They're going to find that Cousins. They're going to find that Kevon Looney. They're going to find the Draymond. They're going to find that big pick. And when they turn the corner, there's nothing you can do about it. Basically, you got to hold, tug, and hopefully they don't call those, because I think it deterred Van Fleet earlier because they got him a couple of times early holding Steph, trying to get around that pick. Skip, if I'm the bigs, I'm almost having to roll out of that. Let Boogie Cousins roll to the basket. Let Bogut roll a Kevon Looney. That doesn't hurt you. Them raining threes from Clay and Steph, that's demoralizing. That incites that building. And you want to try to keep that crowd as quiet as possible for as long as possible, because you want to keep them out of the game. Get to the fourth quarter with a 4-6 point lead and let number two. I go the corn-rolled assassin.
Yeah.
Let him take it over from there. I promise you, if he get to the fourth quarter of the night, Skip Bayless, we're going to have a different conversation tomorrow morning.
Really? Well, he got to the fourth quarter in Game 5. He got to the fourth quarter in Game 2, and then he disappeared twice.
I said, look, you told me this is not the past. We're talking about Game 6.
Okay.
He gets to the fourth quarter. He's in strike. All I need Kawhi to do is to be able to see their tail lights. Don't let them go running high, Kawhi. See their tail lights, pull up to their bumper, and then pass them.
I'm more worried about Toronto running and hiding than I am Golden State. I don't think there's going to be any Golden State running and hiding from this team, and it is a team, a better team than Golden State, that they are up against. But because I do believe Kevon Looney will go tonight, he's listed as questionable. He'll get his pain injection, and he'll suck it up and play hard and play hurt. I'm sticking with my pick, and I'm just going to average the scores of the two Golden State wins in this series. So I'm going to go 108-105, home team tonight. And because I put it on the table yesterday, I'm going to stick with it against my better judgment. If you want 4 cases on this, I will accept the 4-case bet on this game.
Well, accept them.
Okay.
Accept them.
I'm so far ahead, it doesn't really matter to me, but that's okay.
Don't worry about it. See, that's the old tortoise in the hare. The hare was so far ahead, and guess what happened? The slow and steady, the race is won by the slow and steady.
Yeah.
So 4 case by 4 case, 2 cases here, 3 cases there, and the next thing you know, I'll be in the front. You'll be in the back.
You realize the tortoise keeps telling me he's going to catch me, and he keeps making bet after dumb bet after dumb bet, and he loses 4 and 3 and 4, and it gets up to 36 cases. I don't know. But because I am so far ahead, what are 4 cases to me? So I'll just give them back to you. Here, I'll just push them right back across the table. You got it.
But you know what? It's not so much the 4 cases. It's when old Kawhi going to be standing up on that podium holding that old Bill Russell Finals MVP trophy. That's going to do the most damage to you.
Well, and you know what? He's gotten every break in every series. Obviously, Joel Embiid was hurt, sick, hurt. And now Kevin Durant just ruptured his Achilles. So you get break after break. Maybe it's just meant to be, and I can't stop that.
I will give you Kevin Durant was a huge blow, because I believe the series would have already been over. I believe Golden State would have swept Toronto had Kevin Durant been fully healthy and able to play. Okay. But Joel Embiid didn't get hurt. Kawhi hurt his feelings. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't get hurt. Yeah. Kawhi hurt his feelings. And Vucevic.
Well, let's throw Vucevic in. Yeah. So I don't know what happened to him.
Don't worry about that. Yeah. He's an all-star. We beat all all-stars. Swept them.
Well,
swept them.
You can root for number 2. The world can root for number 2, but do not expect me to. Thank you very much.
I heard sometimes he wears a Spurs pair of shorts up under his Toronto Raptors shorts. That's what I hear. I don't know if it's true or not.
So he can remember what the Spurs taught him, all that they taught him how to win and how to shoot. Yeah.
Fighting words
there. No, they didn't teach him.
We will see what extra inspiration the Warriors draw, not only from the last game in Oracle, but also they said they're doing this one for Kevin Durant. All plays out tonight. Coming up next, will the Lakers finally get a deal done for Anthony Davis? Lots of folks interested in this one. We're discussing that next. And don't forget, you can listen to us every day on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back.
No mercy.
Is Anthony Davis finally close to joining LeBron in LA? Multiple reports say the Lakers are engaged in trade talks with the Pelicans. Offer on the table: Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and the 4th overall pick. However, the LA Times reporting the Pelicans also want Kyle Kuzma as part of any deal as well. Shannon, should the Lakers include Kuzma in a trade?
Well, I think if they can, it seems to me that the Pelicans are not overly interested in the 4th pick. It's being reported that this draft is not very deep once you get past the first 3 picks: Zion Williamson, Jay Morant, and R.J. Barrett. So everything else, 4th, yeah, you might be the 4th pick, but you could easily got slotted 15 in other drafts if it was a little stronger. Skip, I'm sure someone would want that pick and has a player that the Pelicans would want. It seems that they want draft picks or players that have the potential to be all-stars. I think the Lakers will do their due diligence. Okay, Pelicans, who would you like to have as we shop this 4th pick? And don't come back and say, well, we kind of want Devin Booker. Hell, if that's the case, we'll trade the 4th pick for Devin Booker. So let's be realistic in what you think you're going to be, what you want. The Pelicans should be realistic in what they want. I like David Griffin's approach because it seems to me, Skip, that he's willing to do business. I'm going to get the best deal. If the Lakers have the best deal that's on the table, I'm going to take it. Whatever transpired between Magic Johnson and Dale Demps, neither one of these parties represent the organizations currently. So bygones be bygones. I'm trying to move forward and get the best deal possible. But I also think, Skip, this should not be a deal breaker now. If you cannot find someone that's willing to take the 4th pick and give you a decent player that the Pelicans would then want in return, it's painful and it's sometimes, Skip, my grandma said, boy, hold your nose, hold your breath, and take this medicine. It might be a situation the Lakers might need to do that, Skip. Close your eyes, hold your nose, hold your breath, and take a deep breath, swallow, and knowing that you're going to probably have to package Kyle Kuzma if no one is willing to take that 4th pick. Give them a player that the Pelicans would want in return. But I'm going to exhaust all avenues possible because I really want to hold on to Kyle Kuzma. Skip, because here's the thing. If you give up all the young players, that means LeBron James and Josh Hart would be the only current player, and Anthony Davis, because you'd get him in return. You would have 3 of a 12-man roster that's under contract. Not good.
So if Shannon Sharpe were running the Los Angeles Lakers right here, right now, and Shannon Sharpe knew that he could throw in Kyle Kuzma and the deal would be done in 5 minutes, would Shannon Sharpe throw in Kyle Kuzma to acquire the player he calls a transcendent superstar, a game changer, a life changer, a franchise difference maker? Would you do that right here, right now?
Skip, in the words of Florida Evans, damn, James. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call. Skip, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call Kyle Kuzma. I'm going to say, Kuz, I'm sorry. We wish you all the best in your new location. We believe that you're going to be an all-star. But the possibility of acquiring Anthony Davis is a deal that we cannot pass up.
And that would mean that good times are here again in L.A.? Isn't that what you would think?
You already know, Skip. You
Yep,
already know.
Yep, okay. So that's it. It's as simple as that. If, in fact, all the reports are to be believed, and Wojnarowski at ESPN is saying that the Lakers are attempting to exercise restraint, but he's also reporting that no premium free agent is interested in playing with LeBron and for the Jeannie Buss, Linda Rambis, Rob Pelinka Lakers clown show at Staples Center. So if your only way out of this is through New Orleans back to LA to acquire Anthony Davis via trade, not free agency, obviously, if you can just flat out trade for him, and you've got those 3 kids that LeBron clearly was already willing to trade at last year's deadline, and to me, he burned maybe not the complete bridge to all three kids, but at least part of it. I know Rondo was quoted in Rick Bucher's piece the other day as saying the kids were damaged over this because they all grew up idolizing LeBron, and it's all of a sudden it was like Daddy said, no, I don't want any of you kids. You guys, I'm going to ship you all to New Orleans. Yeah. So if they're
he was shipping them to boarding school. Sometimes you send the kids. Fine. Yeah, okay. That don't mean you don't love them. You just send them to boarding school.
Okay, that's fine. But he was willing to send them to boarding school. So here we go again. So it just seems like it's perfect because truly there are other suitors here. The Clippers are involved in this. The Clippers are lurking because they're always lurking for the Lakers, and they have some assets.
What do they have? What do they have?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the point guard of the future.
So you hold on. So you believe he's better than Lonzo? You believe he's better than Lonzo or B.I.?
I don't think he'll be better than Lonzo, but last year as a rookie, he played really well. He showed me a lot, and they love him, but I think they'd be willing to part with him if he could be a centerpiece in a deal for Anthony Davis.
Skip, here's the thing. The thing that concerns me is that of these three guys, Lonzo, B.I., and Kuz has been the healthiest of the three. Now, we've seen seasons end in the previous 2 years for Lonzo, and then B.I. has this issue, but it seems doctors seem to think that everything's going to be okay. Skip, I'm going to exhaust all my avenues. I'm going to try, scour the league. There are 28 other teams. Which one of you guys are willing to give up a solid player for the fourth pick in the draft? Skip, I know somebody can use the fourth pick in the draft. Damn, look, I understand that the fourth pick in the draft might not be Charles Barkley, but hell, somebody could use the fourth pick in the draft.
Is this discrimination against my school, Vanderbilt? Because we have produced Darius Garland, who, by the way, has been signed by Clutch Sports and Rich Paul and LeBron James as a client. So he's got some cachet. I think he's going to be the fourth pick. And I think he would have lots of value on the open market. So I think he would be valuable for New Orleans to have, or they could turn him into something else, obviously.
Well, here's the thing, though, Skip. It's been reported that they don't really want the fourth pick. They want a third team to get involved. Hey, Lakers, you do something with the third pick, and then we'll let you know. And that's my thing, Skip. I don't know who's running. First of all, you said Wojo, and Wojo is as good as he gets in this business of reporting stories. He says no one wants to play with LeBron. I believe the number one reason, Skip, you keep saying this clown show, but let me ask you a question. If you got 4 or 5 clowns in a car, they're actually going to the circus. So we understand what the Lakers have become. They've become a circus because we believe they have a bunch of people in costume and makeup with big shoes and a rubber nose running this operation. I'm not going to call them clowns, but if you got on makeup, big shoes, and a rubber nose, you know what you are, and you know where you're headed to. I believe if the Lakers can move that fourth pick, get a quality player, I think the Pelicans will then say, okay, we want Lonzo, we want B.I., we'll take this third player. The draft pick goes wherever he goes. We keep Kuz, we get AD, Bron, AD, with Kuz, we're in the money.
Yep, Shannon.
We're in the money.
Nope. You're trying to hang on to your dream of having Kuzma with AD and LeBron. Ain't going to work.
Why you want to give it?
David Griffin is too shrewd of an operator. He knows how to play this game. And I think he knows that right here, right now, he still is in the power position. He's got the leverage because he sees that the Lakers have become AD or bust. It's going to be bust next year without AD. So why wouldn't he hang in and hang on? They want to get this deal done, obviously, before the draft, which is a week from tonight, right? Thursday, I believe it is. So the clock is starting to tick. We're not to the 11th hour yet, but it's starting to tick. And to me, this is sitting on a silver platter. You just include Kuzma, and you're good to go. And again, I think that would be a fair trade for both teams. I think it would be very fair for New Orleans.
Stop it, Skip. They said if you can get a third team and you can trade the fourth pick and you can get us a quality player that we think, we can live with that, they would be willing to do that. Now, I'm not saying that this should be a deal breaker. Skip, exhaust all possible avenues. And if once we get to that final avenue, and we can't find a possible trade partner, okay, then that's what we have to do. But can we at least exhaust those avenues before we decide to throw in the chips and say, okay, well, here you go?
I'm pretty sure those avenues have already been exhausted. And I still say,
I don't believe so.
If you're right that nobody really loves whoever would be the fourth pick, and you could argue it would be 3 or 4 different players, then just give up the fourth pick. It would just be extraneous. Just give it to New Orleans and let New Orleans decide what to do with it. Maybe David Griffin wants to take somebody with the fourth pick outside the box. Maybe it's not Darius Garland.
But hold on, Skip. Why would I give you Kuzma, Lonzo, B.I., and the fourth pick? They said they wanted Kuzma. They said they wanted Lonzo and B.I. Now, they want Kuzma also. They said give us Kuzma, and you can keep the fourth pick. But if you can find a third team that would be willing to take that fourth pick and give us a player that we deem appropriate,
I don't know.
We'd be willing to do that.
Okay, but I'm going to remind you, Mr. Sharpe, that you have been the one who have constantly told me Lonzo Ball's overrated, that I've been I've been way over the edge in proclaiming him a potential transcendent player. So what would you care if you gave him up? Because you think he's not going to amount to much anyway and that he's perpetually injured.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You don't see me kicking, scratching, clawing, fighting to keep him? I said Kuzma.
Okay. So that's the first one. And B.I., you were all over him last year. When's he going to show up? And then he gets hurt, so he's been injured a lot. And then Kuzma, you were all over him last year about he plays no defense, right? And he's never met a shot he wouldn't shoot, right?
But I also told you he was their second best player to LeBron last year.
Well, that's not saying
I did
much.
say that also.
I mean, LeBron had a very disappointing year, but whatever. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs. Okay, so he's the second best player on a team that didn't make the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo.
Hold on.
I'm just showing this is what you've been feeding back to me all season long, and now all of a sudden you're saying, well, we can't give up Kyle Kuzma. Well, why not? He'll be here today, gone tomorrow. If, in fact, Anthony Davis is the guy you keep telling me he is, you just do it. You just close your eyes.
Yeah, but we got to field it. How about this here? We have to field a team. If you only have 3 players under contract, no, we're not. Listen, we're not in the business of pulling a Carmelo Anthony, where you give up 7, 8 players and draft picks for Carmelo, and you're never able to put the proper assets around him, and so you never reap the benefits of having a great basketball player. Now, it would be a little bit different in L.A. because you already have a GOAT player, not a GOAT player, the GOAT player currently on the roster. So you're pairing him with a transcendent player. But the more pieces you can have around those guys, the better you are. It's like Golden State. Yes, Golden State's a great team with Clay and Steph and Draymond. But then you add a GOAT, now you're like, wow, how do you stop all that? If you got LeBron, you got Kuz, you got AD, man, now you cooking with Crisco instead of Pam. We trying to make that thing burn. We trying to worry about no non-stick. We trying to make it burn next year in 2019, 2020.
Okay, so you make it burn with KCP. He's still there, another clutch client. Wait.
1-year deal.
Okay, you make it burn with Rondo and Lance and JaVale and I don't know, go find Michael Beasley.
No.
I don't know.
No. Stop it, Skip, man. Yeah, that was last year, and clearly it didn't work. Now we're going to do everything we possibly can to bring JaVale McGee back, because JaVale played unbelievable for us. He still can protect the rim. He still can dive to the basket. He runs hard. He plays hard in the amount of minutes that he played. Yeah, we'd love to have JaVale back. Rondo, I'm sure he might find some suitors elsewhere, but if we can bring him back at a price that we can stomach, that $9 million might be a little bit too rich for our blood. But anyway, we're going to try, Skip, give us a couple of days. The draft isn't until a couple of weeks. Give us a couple of days. We're going to scour the league. Would you want the 4th pick? And who knows, we might willing to give you a 2020 pick, a second-round pick, to take the 4th pick and give us a player so we can ship him to the Pelicans.
Shannon, take the plunge.
What?
Just do it for your man LeBron. throw in Kuzma and call it a day and call it a new day, right? Here we go. Just do it.
Okay, we might just do that. We might trade the 4th pick, next year's first-round pick, and a future second-round pick and get Bradley Beal. Okay, we might do that, Skip.
Okay,
Bayless.
go ahead and see how that works.
How about that?
Yeah.
I like
How
the way
about
you
that?
think, Skip.
Bradley Beal, AD, LeBron, whoo, title,
Keep dreaming.
titles.
Kuzma, 23 years
Carving
old,
the Lakers' name on the
MVP
trophy
of
as
the
we
Rising
speak.
Stars Challenge. Certainly seems like a player that a team could build around in the
I'd say,
future.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Jenny Taft here with a quick word from one of our sponsors, Hims, a new wellness brand for men. Did you know that 66% of men lose their hair by age 35? The problem is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's actually too late. Here's the thing, it's easier to keep the hair you have than to replace the hair you've lost. So, do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Check out forhims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, sexual wellness for men. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. These are prescription solutions backed by science. With Hims, there's no waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. It's so easy, and you can save hours by going to forhims.com. Once there, answer a few quick questions and a doctor will review and can prescribe you products that are shipped directly to your door. Order now. Undisputed listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See website for full details and safety information. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to forhims.com/undisputed. That's forhims.com/undisputed. forhims.com/undisputed. Now, back to the show.
No mercy.
All right, Kevin Durant ruptured that Achilles Monday night. Yesterday, KD posted on Instagram that he's already had surgery. There have been a lot of questions about whether KD should have even played in that finals game. Steve Kerr says he understands there will be a lot of finger pointing. Here's more from Kerr.
Kevin checked all the boxes and he was cleared to play by everybody involved. Now, would we go back and do it over again? Damn right. But that's easy to say after the results. When we gathered all the information, our feeling was the worst thing that could happen would be a re-injury of the calf, and that was the advice and the information that we had. And at that point, once Kevin was cleared to play, he was comfortable with that. We were comfortable with that. So the Achilles came as a complete shock. It's devastating, mostly for Kevin. We made the decision collaboratively with all the information that we had, and we thought it was the right one.
Tough day for the Warriors and KD. Shannon, do you believe Kerr?
I do. I believe that Kevin Durant with Rich Kleiman, who is his agent, who's his business partner, I believe they had outside doctors, an outside doctor or doctors to weigh in along with the Golden State medical staff and front office, and they came to this conclusion. And they basically told KD, you can't hurt yourself any worse than you already are, and if the injury were to reoccur, you would re-hurt the calf. Skip, this is what KD wanted to hear because KD is an athlete, and having been one for an extremely long time, Skip, we want someone to, man, I think I can play. Okay, I can't hurt it any worse. And they play, and that's how they got KD here. Because Golden State, not only did their doctors tell him, KD had independent doctors tell him the exact same thing that KD wanted to hear. Remember, Skip, I tell you, this is what I tell young guys all the time. I say, surround yourself with people that tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. It was reported by Rick Bucher and others that all the people that was telling Kevin Durant what he needed to know, he isolated them. Only the people that was telling him what he wanted to hear is what he surrounded himself with. And here we are. Wanda Durant was on television yesterday, and she kind of let that be known. She believed the doctors did a disservice to her son. there were people in that organization, because remember, Skip, it's being reported. We don't, like I said, I don't have any firsthand knowledge. I can just go by what's being reported, that they were putting pressure. Is Kevin doing everything he possibly can to get back out here? Because you see Clay gutting it up. You see Kevon Looney taking injections. Even Boogie Cousins came back after rupturing a quad, straining his quad in April, and here he is back. Is KD really working hard? Then all of a sudden that starts to seep in, because remember, Skip, they kept planting this seed. He's close. He's close. He's supposed to practice tomorrow. He's supposed to do this the next day. And then all of a sudden, see, KD got the validation that he needed. Skip, these guys went to med school for years and upon years to get trained at their craft. They're telling me I can't hurt it any worse. I really want to play. Okay, that's the green light that I need. Skip, they did this young man a terrible disservice. And Kevin Durant bears some responsibility, because he allowed them to appeal to that athletic side of him, the competitive side of him. That is me. I look where I've come from, look to where I got, and we never think anything. Skip, you know, as an athlete, you know the last thing they think is something bad could happen to them. And this is where we are right now. I believe Steve Kerr when he said that they collaborated on this, but Kevin Durant bears a lot of responsibility because he had the final say. But because he wanted to play so bad, and the doctor said you can't hurt it any worse, he went with that. And not only did he hurt a calf, but Skip, for me, I never believed it was the calf. I'm sorry. They called me skeptical, called me cynical, called me doubtful. But I believe it was always the Achilles.
So I am with you times 10 on this one. I'm sorry, but as much as I respect Steve Kerr, I don't believe a word he said yesterday. He might have been taking one for the team. He might have been instructed or encouraged to take that one for the team yesterday. But in the end, I don't believe they made Kevin Durant aware of the full scope of what was going on in his lower leg. I do believe Steve Kerr when he says the calf was completely healed. I'm buying that because I saw Kevin warm up on the calf. And as you well know, if you have any kind of calf strain or tear, you can't push off.
You ain't jumping like that.
And he was
you're not jumping like that, Skip.
pushing into his jumpers, pushing into his dunks. He looked 100% healed in the calf. But again, quick technical point. You have two big calf muscles, the gastroc and the smaller one's the soleus, and they kind of meld into the Achilles and the lower leg. Sometimes the calf strain can signal something going on in the Achilles. And we both thought from the start, May 8th, that night against Houston, it looked like an Achilles something. We didn't know what. Was it a partial tear of the Achilles? We didn't know. At first, we thought it was a full rupture of the Achilles. So I believe something was going on in the Achilles, and it could have even been pre-existing before the calf injury. It could have been what they call fraying or micro tears or even a small partial tear. Something was going on that made it. Okay, go ahead.
Skip, let me say this. And because Kevin Durant has had a history of calf injuries, maybe the underlying problem was the Achilles all along. Because remember, Kevin Durant has had, I think, 2 or maybe 3 other instances in which he's missed games because of calf injuries. So that might be the underlying problem all along, was the Achilles.
Okay, so I believe somebody on the medical staff, either inside or outside opinion, knew there was I'm just going to guess at these, a 10% risk, a 20% risk of the Achilles. Some risk, some moderately dangerous risk that if he went full bore on the heel calf, that all of a sudden the Achilles could be compromised. And the worst case happened. Again, he might have been able to, you know how the Achilles are, it's the most mysterious injury in all of sports. It's also the most debilitating. And once it goes, you are done for a whole year. And there's also, I hate to bring this up, but it's the one injury that has the highest risk of re-tearing. You know, you can come back too soon and it'll rupture again. We've seen that numerous times. But in this case, Look, I told you yesterday I talked to a guy who knows Kevin very well, and he believed that Kevin got guilted into this, that he knew maybe there was some risk going on, but that
Yes.
as you point out, man, he wants to help his guys. And they all recruited him in the Hamptons, and so it's like, man, we're down 3-1, and look what Clay just did, and look what DeMarcus is doing, look what Kavon's doing, look what Iggy's playing with. I got to try. Even though there's 10 or 20% risk of my Achilles, I got to try. And the worst case happened. And yet, Kevin, in his post yesterday after surgery, he expressed no negativity. He didn't try to throw anybody under the bus, so I'm giving him high marks for that. His mom, Wanda.
But he's hurting.
Yeah, I know he was, obviously. Wanda said the doctors need to bear some responsibility, but she also made it very clear
Absolutely.
that she doesn't really know what happened because it seems like foggy what exactly transpired. Kevin would know probably more than Wanda would, but Kevin, if we're going to assess blame, I have to blame Kevin as much as I do whoever the doctors were, because Kevin
Right.
did sign off, but to your point, the athlete in him took over, pride, just unity. You want to be
Yes.
part of a team because you're on the outside looking
Yes.
in, and I get all that. And then the worst happened, and it's a terrible thing, but it probably should have been avoided because I'm convinced there was some issue with the Achilles that signaled don't, and they tried and they failed, and then Steve Kerr has
for
to
me,
sit
Skip-
up there and just sort of lie about it to me.
Skip, for me, I agree with you because I believe there was a far greater risk than the medical team led Kevin Durant to believe, his and theirs. This is the way I do it, Skip. And I've been, and trust me, I know this. I've had ankle problems my career, early in my career. Skip, the doctors would tell me, say, well, Shannon, by shooting you up, you do know you're masking this pain. You do know that once you're out there, you pose a greater risk for doing more injury damage to the ligaments because the pain is telling you something's going on. Doctor, shoot it up. Skip, let me tell you what I did. I wanted to play so bad, and my teammates was counting on me, and I didn't want to let anybody down. I had the nerves in my left leg deadened from my mid-calf down to my ankle, so I couldn't feel anything. So I know what Kevin Durant's going to. Nobody can tell me anything when it comes to getting out there on the field or the court to play because you don't want anybody to lie down. But let me tell you what else I would do. Anytime a doctor told me something, I said, well, let me put it to you like this, doc. Because doctors do a great job, Skip, of saying, I'm a doctor, and then looking at this guy, they're, moving along like this. I said, if I was your son or daughter and I had this injury, would you let me play? If I was your mom, if I was your dad, would you say have the surgery or wait 6 months? See, you got to put it to them in that context. You got to bring the human element. Let that side of them like, hold on. Because it's easy. Kevin Durant is not whatever the doctor name was, Skip, that's not my son. But bring that into the equation. If I was your son, if I was your daughter, I was your mom or dad, what would you advise me to do now? What would you advise me to do then?
Well, to your point of your story, I don't think you could have deadened this to make it any better, because I'm not sure he was feeling any Achilles pain. It was just dangerously compromised already.
Right.
That's what I believe.
But and that's the thing, Skip. There has to be, because when you keep having a reoccurring injury to a specific area, there has to be an underlining. When guys keep having hamstrings, either they're quad dominant or they're imbalanced some way, because that's not the way. The body is not supposed to keep re-aggravating, re-injuring a specific area if everything is properly aligned. Kevin Durant, over the last couple of years, Skip, we've seen him miss games because of calf injuries. There's something. Maybe the Achilles is weak. Maybe he's off somewhere. But there has to be an underlying theme. So what doctors will do is that for an athlete, Skip, yes, you want to play because there's only Skip, you can't be a professional athlete as long as a doctor can be a doctor. You don't have a 30-year, 40-year shelf life to do what you do. So you want to maximize that by playing. But give me the honesty. Shannon, look, And they told me, Shannon, you can tear ligaments, you're going to have surgery. They didn't tell me I was going to rupture my Achilles or anything of that, or I posed a greater risk. Just I posed a greater risk for tearing the ligaments as opposed to having them stretched farther than what they needed to be. I posed the risk of tearing them. I just believe, and I didn't have a team, Skip. You got to realize, Skip, I was a 7th round draft pick. Skip, I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to hold on into the league. I'm not Kevin Durant. Maybe had I been a 1st round draft pick, had the security that I needed, maybe I'll make a better decision like, hell no, I'm sitting down. Kevin Durant had that luxury, Skip. Let's just say for the sake of argument, you're correct. He's the best player. I'm not looking at Kevin Durant any differently. I know what Kevin Durant represents, whether he played in this series or not. A lot of people like, well, he's not tough, and they use that against Kevin Durant because he's heard that, and I've even said it. I thought it was a bad move. It was a bad look for him to go join Golden State. But to question his toughness because he has an injury and he's not back in 2 weeks or 2 days, miss me with that one.
Well, certainly our thoughts are with Kevin Durant for a speedy recovery and hopefully a full recovery as well. Back to tonight, will the Warriors keep their season alive? Chris Broussard makes his pick up next.
No mercy.
The Warriors are 1 loss away from elimination, but they can even it up tonight in their final home game ever at Oracle. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors looking for their first NBA title. The Warriors are favored by 2.5, but they're going to have to get it done without Kevin Durant. A big good morning to FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, curious who you're taking. Who do you think wins tonight?
Let me ease Skip Bayless's mind because I know you desperately want Golden State to win for the sake of your pick.
Don't jinx me.
So I'm saying they're going to win. Look, in fairness, I've picked them every game this series. So just put that out there for full disclosure. 3 reasons, 3 intangibles that I think Golden State
They better be intangible because I don't know any tangibles.
will use to help them pull this out. Number 1, last game at Oracle Arena. And as you've pointed out, they have not been good, not only this year, but in the playoffs. They're 6-4 at home. Obviously 0-2 at Oracle in this series. So I think they're going to want to come out. They're going to be motivated by that to come out and play well. And, of course, look, they want to win just for the sake of winning another championship. So that is at its ultimate peak. However, as you know and Shannon knows, sometimes something emotional can happen that takes you to an even higher level. Your focus, your energy, everything can improve to a level you really didn't think you could go to. So I think that's what will happen. So you got the Oracle Arena last game, the Kevin Durant injury, whether it's pain for a teammate and knowing what he's going to have to go through now, going into free agency and all that, whether there's some guilt for second guessing him, questioning him,
Maybe.
and it came out publicly,
I'll give you that one.
right? Mm-hmm. And whether it's just not wanting him, because I don't know, and we'll get to this, of course, later, whether or not the Warriors really thought, like the management and Coach Steve Kerr and the doctors, whether or not they really thought he could injure himself worse. I bet the players didn't think that, because the players don't know all the medical stuff that the coach and the management know. So they probably were thinking it's just a calf strain. You know, he can go out there and play. And now they know what he risked to try to help them win a championship. So I don't think they don't want that to be in vain for one game. You know, he played 12 minutes, 14 minutes, one game. Let's go out there and not let that be in vain for KD. And then I think the end of an era has never been closer, right? You know KD's not playing next year. What if out of, I don't know, guilt or whatever, the Warriors offer KD the 5-year, $221 million max, super max? Will they be able to bring Clay back? Because Clay wants the max as on day one.
Right.
Don't disrespect me. Offer it to me on day one. I'll sign it. If they sign KD, maybe, that's going to really put him in the luxury tax to bring back Clay like that. So Draymond will be a free agent after next season. So the end of this era is looking like it could possibly come to an end. So I think all 3 of those things will have the Warriors play. And I'll throw this in too. They have been good in this situation. They were down 3-2 to Houston. They were down 3-1 to OKC, which was maybe a superior team with KD and Russell Westbrook. And they pulled those out. So for those reasons and no basketball reasons, I'm going with Golden State.
I feel slightly better. Shannon Sharpe.
Hey, Skip, I wish the Golden State Warriors and Steve Kerr would have thought a little bit more about this before they played Kevin Durant 12 of the first 14 minutes, whether or not he could re-injure that ankle. I don't think that was wise, but that's a discussion for another day. I took the Raptors, Chris, because I don't believe they're going to make 23-pointers again. The one thing that we do know that without KD, the floor condenses a little bit. They will play a lot better defense. I thought Game 5 was the worst defensive game that I had seen from the Toronto Raptors. I know they're a better defense. Skip, they're long. Danny Green, 6'6", he can play defense. Kawhi Leonard, we know what he represents. We don't even have to bring him up. Serge Ibaka coming off the bench is a great defensive player. Marc Gasol is a big body, protects the rim. He can play defense. Siakam. So they're long. But for whatever reason, I think they stood around like, well, okay, KD's coming back. Let's see what he got. Well, they let him get a rhythm. And in the process of him getting a rhythm, Steph and Klay got rhythm. And Klay never lost his rhythm. Although Steph lost his rhythm somewhat in the second half because he only scored, 8 points in the second half, none bigger than that what pick he came off of and hit a three to tie the ball game. They would do a better job. They're a better offensive rebounding team, which keeps them in the ball game when Golden State gets a lead. They get to the foul line because they are not as heavily dependent on the three-point shot as Golden State. So they live at the foul line, although in the second half, they didn't get to the foul line nearly as much as they needed to. It's over. It's over, Skip Bayless. And for the sole fact, I got one reason why it's going to be over. Everybody, including me, want to see old Kawhi up on that podium with that old Bill Russell trophy. Finals MVP. I want to see that. Chris Broussard wants to see that deep down because everybody in America want to see the pain on your face on Friday morning.
And I'm going to remind you, there are some good Spurs fans out there, some diehards who have no use for this guy right now. So don't include the Spurs fans, the good ones, in the rest of the world.
You think some do want to see Kawhi win?
Then they're not very good Spurs fans.
They're just good.
They're not diehards.
Yeah, they're not. You ought to be.
So,
Skip, what about forgiveness?
Not for that. This is basketball forgiveness. Come on. This is how could I? After what he did to my team, I don't. It's not theological at all. Right. That's a whole nother story. Here's the point that, to Chris's point, you made 3 very insightful, intangible reasons that I like, and I will cling to those because I'm looking at the tangible basketball reasons, and I can't find one because I have no evidence of Golden State being able to even hang with Toronto at Oracle this year. And I'm going to include the early season, regular season game. It was 113-93 Toronto with no number 2 playing. Well, that's no good. So they have extreme confidence when they walk on the floor. They won game 3 at Oracle, 123-109. They won game 4, 105-92. Do you see a pattern here? They're just wiping them out. They're dominating at Oracle, whereas you point out, this team hasn't been very good all year at Oracle, where it lost 6 games by 20-plus points. So when I look at what number 2 did in games 3 and 4, he dominated those games, especially game 4. That was his overpowering game of this series because he goes 36 points, 12 rebounds, 4 steals, 0 turnovers, 5 of 9 threes, and 9 of 9 from the free throw line. That was a finals MVP game. I can debate and doubt about game 2 and game 5 closing, but the point is that was his showcase game. He's got to feel real good about this game tonight, at least on this floor, because he's been really good on this floor. So to me, he should own this game. His team is better than Golden State, and they have much better depth to me than Golden State does. So now, why am I sticking with it? The intangibles and the fact that I would love this team in a game 7 more than I would love it in tonight's game 6, because as I told Mr. Sharpe, if you get to game 7, then it's clay versus feet of clay, because I think Toronto would have feet of clay at home with suffocating pressure from Raptor Nation, you know, and Jurassic Park to finish this off after they'd lost 2 straight games. Man, I wouldn't not want to be in those sneakers in that game. But in this game, it's going to have to be more that Toronto loses the game than Golden State wins the game. I still think there's got to be some element of pressure creeping in where they still don't shoot it great from 3. The team that's won the 3-point shootout each game has won all 5 games. So,
but don't you think that's a basketball reason to give the Golden State? Because they clearly are the better shooting team.
I hope so. Do I expect 20 out of 42 tonight? I do not. Could they get 20. To 17 maybe?
I'll give you another intangible. I left this off because I thought you would say it, but because you said it a few days ago. When they thought Kevin Durant was coming back or might come back, subconsciously, that's a crutch. And that's what he's been since he's got there. It's like KD is great. He can score anytime he wants. We can relax a little bit. When he's there, when he's not there, that's how they felt. So do they come out now where you know he's not coming back and play at a higher level?
Okay, I hope so. But I told Shannon earlier, I was a little disappointed and discouraged by what I heard from some of the Warriors yesterday, because instead of being what you would predict could be inspired by Kevin's injury and the guilt that they felt, they sounded a little deflated, if not disillusioned, over how it all shook out, that there's some angst about, did they not tell him the truth? Did they mislead him? Did they mislead us? And if that's operating, this is not going to be good tonight, right?
No question about that. No.
So, finally,
but if you
go
look,
ahead.
Go ahead, Scott. I was going to say, if you look at Game 5, you look at how they came out, knowing that KD was on the court. Steph was super duper aggressive, but he had space. Klay was super duper aggressive because he had space. Because KD, not only was KD there, he made his presence felt. 11 points in the first quarter. He was 3 of 3. I was like, man, KD looking good. But I have a bigger question, and Chris, Skip and I talked about this earlier. Do you believe Boogie Cousins can give them games 2 and 5 performance in game 6? Because we have seen no indications that he can follow up a performance in one game, bring that performance to the next game. That's going to be big, because I don't even believe they were going to play Boogie Cousins in game 5, because they went to Looney first and then they brought Bogut. And they only went to Boogie when Kevon Looney couldn't go anymore.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't have any reason to believe he can do it. I just don't. This stage, he's not used to it. Look, he was really good in 2 and 5. And, you know, hopefully he can do that for the Warriors fans. But, no, there's no reason to believe he's going to go out there and play that well. Okay. And if I see him, like, they have got to tell him, stay near the basket for the most part. And if we do have you out to space the floor, you're there to space the floor. And unless you're wide open and can shoot a 3, don't put it on the floor. Don't penetrate. He's a great passer, but he just gets outside of it.
Penetrate, Boogie. Penetrate, Boogie. Penetrate. Don't listen to Chris Broussard.
He's hanging his hat on that one. So, in the end, the betting public is saying we're not sure about this, because it opened at Golden State by 3.5, and it's been bet all the way down to 2.5. So, I'm going to hang in with these 2 points. I think Kevon Looney is going to try to go. He's listed as questionable, so maybe that will discount the DeMarcus factor a little bit. And I don't know how long he'll last with his chest injury, but if he can last much or most of the game, they'll be okay in that department. I do expect Draymond to come up with a big game, because he hasn't played a big game yet. And I remind everybody, remember the Game 7 that they lost at Oracle to LeBron and Kyrie? That night, he made his case for MVP. He went 32 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists, and had 2 steals and 6 of 8 from 3. That's a big-time Draymond. We haven't seen that guy. They need to see him tonight.
I think, Skip, one last thing. I do think they need something from Boogie, because Looney's not going to give you points. All right, he might give you good defense, some rebounding. Bogut's not going to give you points. I think they're going to need some type of, 10 points, a good 8 points or something from Boogie.
Okay, what's your score?
Put it on the floor, Boogie. Put it on the floor, Boogie. Don't listen to Chris Broussard.
I'm going to say, I hadn't thought of a score, but I'm going to say 113, 110 Warriors.
Okay, I've averaged the 2 Warrior wins in this series to come up with 108, 105 home team. He's got number 2. That's all. He's just rooting for number 2. That's it.
Gentlemen,
Right.
we gotta leave it here because we need to talk about a team that hopes to make the playoffs next season. Should the Lakers give up Kyle Kuzma in a deal for Anthony Davis?
Here we go.
Discuss with
He's
Chris
coming.
next.
No mercy.
Back to the NBA, Anthony Davis and LeBron joining forces now appears closer to becoming a reality. Multiple reports say the Lakers are engaged in trade talks with the Pelicans, offering up Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and that 4th overall pick. However, LA Times, they're reporting the Pelicans also want Kyle Kuzma as part of any deal. Chris Broussard's still hanging with us. Chris, what you think on this one? Does this deal get done?
It does get done. It's going to happen. I mean, and I think as far as whether or not they should trade Kyle Kuzma, the Lakers, he should not be a deal breaker. Like if at the end of the day you have to give up Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, the number 4 pick for AD, you do it. However, I think it's a game of chicken. Like who's going to blink first? And the Lakers have the leverage. So if I were them, I would hold out. Now, New Orleans is saying to them, look, because New Orleans, I'm told, really likes Brandon Ingram first, then Lonzo, then Kuzma, in that order. I know the LA Times said Kuzma's the guy they like the most. I'm told it's Ingram and then Lonzo. But Brandon Ingram, they're a little bit concerned about the blood clots. So they can say to the Lakers, look, this guy is possibly damaged goods. So you've got to give us Kuzma to make this thing even. So that's what they're saying. But the Lakers have the leverage because let's look at the other possibilities. New York. What do they have to offer that's better than the Lakers package? Even if they get, first of all, if they don't get Kyrie, KD, even if they got him, he wouldn't play next year. So let's say KD goes there. They max him out. He sits out the year. Anthony Davis goes to play there. You have a bad year. You don't know how KD's going to come back. AD could leave. And then you've given up this number 3 pick for a 1-year rental. You know, so they have to, New York has to be careful how much they give up. Even if they were to get Kyrie, and so now you trade the number 3 pick for AD, but you try to trade the number 3 pick for AD, but New Orleans is going to want an all-star because your young players, Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, like they're not exciting New Orleans. That's not a better package than the Lakers can get. And what do you have to offer a team to get an all-star in the package that can go to New Orleans? So I don't think the Knicks can better what LA is offering. Boston, we know he's Trader Danny and he's willing to take the risk and all that, but he would be nuts with Kyrie Irving out the door to give up the whole package. If you want to give up, I believe he might offer Jason Tatum by himself, you know, with some filler and not the other young guys. Or he may offer Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and some picks, but not Jason Tatum. That's not better than the Lakers offer. So I don't see Brooklyn can't offer a better deal. The Lakers are in the driver's seat. The question is this: who is going to blink first? Is it the Pelicans and say, all right, we'll do the deal without Kuzma, or is it the Lakers to say, no, we'll throw in Kyle? It's getting done though.
Okay.
Hey, Skip Bayless, this
what?
may or may not be some Johnny Walker.
Looks like
Because
water
I
to
told
me.
you, Skip Bayless, I told you the Lakers, the purple and gold are in the catbird seat. Because guess what? All those other teams, they got diddly poo to offer. Because remember, all those draft picks, they rolled the dice on Kyrie. They gave up, which turned out to be Colin Sexton. They gave that up. Now they got a bunch of picks, 13, 15, 19. Nobody wants that. If people don't want the 4th pick, what the hell makes you think they're going to want 14, 15, or 19? So roll the dice if you want to. This is what we got for you. Now, we got these good deals sitting out here for you, David Griffin, because see, Skip, the thing that David Griffin is, he's not emotionally invested like Dale Demps. He's not emotionally invested like Gail Benson, who doesn't want to do business. But David Griffin said, look here, ma'am, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity, but if you want me to build this team and have a championship caliber contending team for years to come, you got to take personal feelings out of this. If this is the best offer, you need to give me your blessings and let me make this deal. And I believe that's what's going to happen. Now, as I said before, Skip, it's not going to be a deal breaker, but we're going to comb the league and see if someone would want that 4th pick for a player the Pelicans might be interested in. But as I said before, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and old Kyle Kuzma, the old song, Skip, you remember that song? We're in the money. We're in the money.
That's way before my time.
You don't want this to happen, Skip, because you like LeBron being down, but it's going to happen, bro.
You want this deep down
Speaking of
for the
LeBron
league
being
and the
down,
Lakers.
I disagreed with only one point that you made. You said the Lakers have the leverage here. I do not see that. I think it has become for these Lakers AD or bust, because it has been widely reported that no premium free agent is interested in playing with LeBron on a stage run by Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss and Linda Rambis and what has become for many a Staples clown show that Magic vacated like in a shock, right?
Right.
Okay, so again, Woj at ESPN has reported that the Lakers are trying to exercise restraint here on the trade. I just don't see how they can restrain themselves, because I do think the Clippers could make a viable offer. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is really good, and he's right there with Lonzo as a potential star, and they could use him in New Orleans as their centerpiece point guard.
Right.
And I don't know, you could start throwing in Lou Williams and Gallinari, and I don't know. I'm not underestimating Jerry West running the Clippers right now, and the Nets do have a Fort Knox of draft picks that they could dangle.
Remember, they gave up some of those.
They did. But again, and they have a lot of nice players. I don't know. I'm not going to underestimate those two teams. Boston, it just seems like a long shot, because Rich Paul has just made it clear we're 1 year or bust. You know, you can have us for a year if that's what you want. So I'm going to knock them out, and I'm with you on the Knicks. I just don't see what's there. I don't see it. But again, I don't see where the Lakers are going except with AD. They have to have him. So to me, I'm looking at a man right now smiling at me in this big-headed monitor of his. And
Right. It's bigger than usual, right?
this is the same guy who's got no use for Lonzo Ball. He's got little use for Brandon Ingram, and he has some use, but only some use for Kyle Kuzma. This was his feedback throughout the season. So come on, it's like here today, gone tomorrow. It's in one eye and out the other with these three players, according to you. You should just plunge, just do it. And nobody seems to love the fourth pick in the draft, right?
It's a big drop off.
All right. Okay.
You have to show restraint. Skip, anytime you go buy something, whether it be a car or a home, you might like, I won't get this. But you just play it calm, like, oh, this is really nice, but I don't know about the decor inside. I think it can use this wall can use a coat of paint, or see it's chipping, it's cracking. You know what I'm saying, Skip? You got to play cool, Skip. You just don't go plunge. Oh, we'll take it.
How many people have you run into here in Los Angeles where the real estate market is through every roof?
Right.
How many people have you run into who said, you won't believe what 7 years ago I paid $10 million for my house, and now it's like a bargain,
Right,
Okay,
right.
that's what would happen with AD. You'd pay all that now, and 2 years from now you'd be saying, boy, this is a bargain. We got this transcendent superstar in return for these kids? Come on.
Look, it's negotiation right now. At the end of the day, I have no doubt if they have to, they'll give up those three guys. Mm-hmm. And you're right, they're not getting another free agent. Not one of the tier one guys. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they have to get it done. And it also could end up being Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. Like,
that's a big drop-off from Kyle
It's a big drop-off, but both of them are setting their standards very high for now, because they've still got a week or so, or actually exactly a week, right, before the draft. So that's really the deadline.
I want to go back to something Skip said. Skip said that Rich Paul said that if Boston were to trade for AD, it's a one-year rental. Skip, you remember in January, AD's dad said the very same thing that Rich Paul conveyed in his Sports Illustrated article. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, Boston, you could trade for him, but you only gonna get it for 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's the thing. Every team, look, we know he would stay with the Lakers, and he likes New York. The problem with New York, even though he's saying, okay, this is a destination I want to go to, what's your team going to look like? He could go there willingly, like, all right, I'm glad to be here. Then you win 37 games next year, no hope of improving, and he leaves. He could do that with any other team. He could go to the Clippers and still ultimately feel like, you know what, I want to play with LeBron, and then leave them as a free agent. So that's something all these other teams have to take into account.
All I know is, speaking of the Sports Illustrated article that you referred to, at the end of it, it refers to both AD and his girlfriend, and they're all over the LA real estate market, and Rich Paul is sending them by the day, how about this house? How about this house? Well, that's why I say, I still think the Pelicans have the leverage here, because it seems like AD's heart and soul are already in Hollywood.
Well, half the league lives in LA in the summer.
All right.
So.
Well, okay.
Hey, we're gonna mention this later, because Rich Paul equated the Lakers to J-Lo. How you say no to J-Lo? A-Rod wanted J-Lo back in 1998.
Okay.
Here it is, 23 years later, he get his 96, excuse me. And here it is, 23 years later, he gets an opportunity. AD always wanted to be the Laker.
Well,
Pelicans interrupted this.
you know what they say about beauty? It's in the eye of the beholder. So if he beholds beauty,
Well, I'm
in
beholding
LA,
something beautiful.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be good for the league. It's going to be good for you.
I'm good with it, but you got to plunge. You got to just do it.
Yep.
You got to throw
just
who's
negotiating. It's just negotiating.
No.
Okay.
You know what? There was
Sometimes,
nothing...
Skip, instead of getting this real estate market, you move out further.
Yeah. So that we got an hour drive into the studio in the morning. Yep. Okay.
No
Nothing
way,
beautiful
no how.
Yeah.
about KD's injury the other night, guys. Who was at fault for letting KD play in Game 5?
Good question.
We're going to discuss that with Chris Broussard coming up next.
No mercy.
Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles Monday night, so now the question is whether he should have been playing at all. After the game, Warriors GM Bob Myers took the blame. Then yesterday, Steve Kerr said, quote, Kevin was cleared to play by everybody involved. KD posted on Instagram he has had surgery and that he, quote, wanted to be out there that night because that's what I do. Chris Broussard still hanging with us. Chris, who deserves the most blame for this injury?
If Steve Kerr was telling the truth yesterday, and I have as much respect for Steve Kerr as anybody in the league, okay? I think he's a really good guy. If he was telling the truth and he said the Warriors doctors collaborated with KD's second opinion, independent doctor, that's the first, maybe I missed it, but that's the first I heard of a second opinion. Is that you
First
guys?
time.
Right,
Yep.
Okay. So if that's correct, that KD had an independent doctor not attached to the Warriors collaborating with them, and all the doctors said, you can play, all you can do is re-injure the calf, you don't have to worry about the Achilles or anything, then I would say the doctors are clearly to blame because they misdiagnosed this from KD's doctor to the Warriors doctor. Because look, the fact of the matter is KD, Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, whoever else you want to throw out there from the Warriors organization, none of them are doctors.
Okay.
So all you
what
can
did they
do-
misdiagnose? What?
Well, that's what I'm going to get to that in a minute. They, according to Kerr, they said it's a calf injury, and you can only thing you can do worse is re-injure
Re-injure
the
your
calf.
okay.
Your Achilles is safe. He acts like they were shocked by the Achilles.
He used the
injury.
word shock.
Right. Okay. So there's that. If that's the case, I just believe it's the doctors. If I'm KD or Steve Kerr, I don't know medicine. If the doctors tell me I'm fine, I can go play through the pain, only the calf can get worse, I'm going to go play, and I'm going to feel good as a coach playing him because the doctor said it. Now, I don't like to call somebody a liar and say they're lying unless I know for a fact. So I'm not saying that about Steve Kerr. But there are people around the league that believe. Remember, the day after it happened, I was on the show, and I said I had somebody close to someone on the training staff who said it was the Achilles.
You said that.
Okay? Now, there are people now saying, and a person has told me that they know, they know this, that the Warriors all along and KD knew it was an Achilles, slight micro tear.
Yes.
Not a rupture, but that it was the Achilles, and that the Warriors were protecting KD because he's headed into free agency. And they don't even want him, it's like, hey, we're not going to send you into free agency with an Achilles tear, all that. And that's why KD was go along with it. Okay, let's call it a calf. And then when they get down 3-1, and everybody's saying you can play, but that they knew it was an Achilles. Now, I don't know if that's the truth, but I'm just saying some people are saying that. And when you look at circumstantial evidence, every time you saw KD, ice is on the Achilles or down near the Achilles rather than the calf.
That is true.
And as I heard you say earlier, he's jumping and dunking. That's not really with a bad calf, and you can have slight micro tears in the Achilles and, it's not ruptured. You may know it's going to go. So maybe KD knew, look, there's a risk. Maybe it'll go. If that last scenario is the case and they all knew it was the Achilles, then I gotta put a lot of that on KD's representation, his agent, Rich Kleiman, because that's your job to protect him, to protect him against himself. And if KD wants to go out there and play, look, KD could have potentially risked becoming the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. KD could have potentially risked, like if he's gonna be healthy, we know in a year, but maybe he won't come back as KD. Maybe he comes back as Carmelo Anthony. Slightly not quite as good.
Okay.
Not good enough anymore to lead a team to a championship by himself.
Okay.
So now you're taking away your options. So it was a risk, and those representing KD's best interest should have put their foot down if that second scenario is true and said, KD, we can't let you do this.
Okay.
Skip Bayless, you and I came in the very next day after Kevin Durant, they said it was a calf. I said, Skip, I don't know about you, but I've never seen anyone react to a calf strain like that. I said, he looked back as if somebody had tripped him or kicked him because he thought that's exactly what P.J. Tucker had done because that's who he shot the ball over against the Rockets. And he looked back and he grabbed his Achilles. He didn't grab his calf. I understand the gastroc and the soleus are the muscles in the calf. I get all that, but I've seen too many times. And I said maybe he didn't rupture, but he got a tear in there. I said, why every time I watch him, the ice bag is at the back, is on his heel, Achilles area. His calf, there's no ice, there's no heat, there's nothing on the calf. But I thought he had a calf strain. Oh, Shannon, you don't know, you're not a doctor. You're right. And I hate playing one on television, but I've been a professional athlete for long enough. I've seen enough Achilles tears. I've seen enough of calf strains in certain injuries, and I know where the doctors put the ice. Skip, everybody failed this all around because the medical staff on both sides, and this is the first time I agree with you that when I heard Steve Kerr say this yesterday, Chris, that he got a second opinion from someone outside of the Warriors organization. Well, they failed this young man. And if Kevin Durant knew that at the very beginning this was micro tears in his Achilles, he should have never, ever, ever risked it. I get, Skip, that the athlete inside of us, and when someone says, and I've been there, lose a game, Skip, and my teammates come, Sharpe, boy, if we had you, man, they can't play with us if we'd have just had you. What do you think they're telling KD? Every time they come in the locker room, Skip Bayless, they lose a ball game and they see him. Man, if we had KD, it wouldn't even been close. This series had already been over with. They played at that side of KD. But I agree 100% with you, Chris Broussard. Rich Kleiman failed him. Your job as an agent is what is the best advice that I can give my client. Skip, this is $241 million in free agency. This is an opportunity for you to be a top 5 player. Guys come back and they play very well. It's going to be very interesting to see in 2021 if Kevin Durant is the same player that he left in 2019. That's what we're going to have to see. But Skip, they failed. At the end of the day, the rubber meets the road is Kevin Durant's final call. But Rich Kleiman's got to say, Kev, don't do it. It's not worth it. The downside of this, which is rupturing your Achilles, is far greater than you winning a third championship in a row and being in a path. The downside outweighed the risk was too great, was greater than the reward.
So back to your initial point. you guys both know, when you tear your calf or even strain your calf, it's a hot knife in your calf, and it's an ow. It's a like, ow. God. That wasn't
grab
his
it
reaction
immediately,
on May
Skip.
the 8th. The Achilles reaction is always a, huh?
Right.
Huh? What was that? That was an Achilles reaction I saw on May the 8th. It was startled. It was befuddled. Like, what just happened
kick me?
to me? And you know and I know, the first thing they did the next day was take an MRI. It's a 3D view of the lower leg. And so you can see all the issues going on in the lower leg from the calf, and you got the gastroc and the soleus, and they meld right into the Achilles. You can see if there's any issue going on with the Achilles. You cannot tell me that whoever examined the first MRI, the magnetic resonance imaging picture, didn't say, I see a little problem there with the Achilles. To your point, you can have micro tears, you can have what they call fraying, you can have a little partial tear, but you can just flat out see it on the MRI. It does not lie.
Yes.
And so somebody knew that was happening. We all believed that was happening from May 8th. It could have been pre-existing issue that was even exacerbated by what just happened on May the 8th, but it did not rupture, or we wouldn't even have this conversation. So, but your source said, we fear, right? We fear that's what it was. So even if he went to an outside opinion, they had to know that, I don't know what number to put on it, 10% chance of rupture, 20% chance, a risk of rupture. Somebody had to know the risk.
Right.
And I'm assuming Kevin knew. I'm assuming he knew that there's some potential this is going to rupture, because Steve Kerr was not lying when he said the calf was 100% healed. It was. You could just see it in the pregame warm-ups. He couldn't jump like that.
But Skip,
on
the
any
calf
kind of
was
calf.
Skip.
Is this
but
possible?
Skip, Chris, let me make this point. The calf was never the injury. Of course, the calf was 100% healed. The Achilles was always the injury. That was the lie that you told to make people believe that it was a calf injury.
Okay.
It was always the Achilles.
Is it possible that if he's got micro tears in his Achilles, your only options are surgery, or you can go play on it knowing it's going to go eventually?
On the micro tears, I mean,
Right.
the number one option they would tell you is you just got to rest.
Okay, but
Just
is
let
that
it
going to
heal on
heal
its
it?
own.
It
Yes.
would heal on
Yes,
its own.
on its
okay,
own it
so
would
he
heal.
could rest
But it
and
would
let
take
heal it.
time. It would take an off season of healing. Yes.
Okay. All right.
They would put Skip, if he got micro tears, what they would normally do is put you in a boot, tell you to stay off it for anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks.
Yep.
And we'll give you another MRI, and we'll see where you are then. If it's healed properly, we'll say, okay, you can go back to wearing your normal shoes. If not, we're going to leave your butt in this boot again for another month.
Okay, but is it fair for me to conclude, if Kevin was given all the correct information about the risk, hey, Kevin, it's maybe a 20% risk, I can't blame anybody, and I'm not going to blame Kevin because he wanted to suck it up and try to win one for
Yes.
the team.
I
Right?
don't think KD's
Yes.
to blame
Okay.
at
All right.
Yeah.
And remember, in his post yesterday, he expressed zero negativity toward any
Right.
of the process and trying to figure out what it was, right? He was all for his teammates. He's all in. Like, it seemed like he was completely committed to the risk of what he took.
I agree.
Right?
That definitely, the way he's acted has made you feel like he knew. All right, it's a risk.
Okay.
I'm taking this risk, and it wasn't their fault. I'm with it. Yeah. So,
Okay.
But that's where I do think your agent can step in.
Good. Yeah.
And say, no, KD, no. It's not worth it. Basketball-wise, he had nothing to lose. If they were going to lose without him.
For me, guys, I do not have a problem with risk. It's unnecessary risk that I have the problem with.
Okay. So in the end, I actually gained respect for Kevin to play like that. Like that was big of him to try, and he paid the ultimate price because, to your point, he might never be quite the same again. Okay? You risked, you lost.
Tried to get it out.
But see, Skip,
Yep.
this is what hurts, and this is what led Kevin Durant to do. You heard what you said. A lot of other people feel the same way you did, Skip. You gain respect.
Yeah.
No question.
That should have never played into it. KD, look what you had accomplished up to this point. KD, there are some people, even though you got injured, you still were not going to get their respect for the simple fact you joined that team. So you were never going to be able to please everyone.
No.
You never are. Gentlemen, great stuff this morning. Chris, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Coming up next on Undisputed, will Kawhi Leonard win another Finals MVP? We know what Shannon thinks, but we'll discuss it up next.
No mercy.
Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors now 1 win away from Toronto's first NBA title. However, it would not be Kawhi's first title since he won back in 2014 with the Spurs. Kawhi is also the favorite to win Finals MVP again. In 2014, he was named MVP after averaging around 18 points, 6 boards for the Spurs while playing some solid defense. Shannon, how much more impressive do you think this Finals MVP would be for Kawhi?
Well, that puts him in exclusive company. He'll be one of 3 men to win MVPs at 2 different locales. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar obviously won one in Milwaukee in '71, and then he won another with the Lakers in the '80s. LeBron James won 2 with the Miami Heat in 12 and 13, and then he won his 1 in 16 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so if Kawhi were to do this, this would be a very, very historic feat for him. And considering, Skip, on that championship team in the finals, he averaged 9.8 shots a game. That's a slight tick above Manu, who averaged 9.6. He was the 4th option. As Jen read in the read, he averaged 18 points and 6 rebounds. It was more of an Iggy-type MVP because he held LeBron James. I don't think the people at home realize this. He held LeBron James to 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists a game. LeBron shot 57% from the field, 52% from the 3. Can you imagine that? And you win Finals MVP.
Nope.
That was because D-Wade was a little banged up at that point in time. He was not the D-Wade from a few years earlier. He averaged 15 points a game. Chris Bosh averaged 14 points a game. And so they were able to whitewash the the Miami Heat, and Kawhi Leonard won it because the first 2 games, he didn't even have double figures in points. Skip, this would be huge because as a 4th option on a team that was the epitome of a team, he's the de facto leader. He's the de facto superstar. He would have put this team on his back and led them to a finals against a team that was going for a 3-peat. And even though they're down a man, they were still a formidable opponent, considering they have a 2-time league MVP, a 3-point champ on their roster, and a defensive player of the year. So this would be huge, huge on his resume, and it would start to put Kawhi in a different, people will look at him. They know he's a superstar now, Skip, but as his career starts to progress and when he's all said and done, we would definitely look at Kawhi in a different light if he were to pull this off.
I'm sorry, but I've got to disqualify number 2 from having won a Finals MVP in the first city because I don't see how he won it. I think we should take it back right here, right now. You were heading down the right path on this because I'm thinking, wait a second. In the first 2 games in San Antonio, and it only went 5 games, in the first 2 in San Antonio, he scores 9 points and 9 points. They won 1 and lost 1. Okay, so did he lead the Spurs in scoring for the 5? No, Tony Parker was slightly above him, so he averaged 17.8. Tony averaged 18. Did he lead the team in rebounding? No, he was 3rd in rebounding because Tim Duncan averaged 15.4 points and 10 rebounds. That's pretty great. Did he lead in plus-minus? No, he was 3rd on the team in plus-minus because Manu Ginobili was a plus 83 in the 5 games. That's just like off the charts great.
Yeah.
And did he lead in assists? No, he was tied for 4th on the Spurs in assists in that series. So how did he win the MVP? Did he suffocate LeBron James? Did he snuff him out? Nope. LeBron, to your point, you keep reminding me, he went 28 and 8. Now, the 4 assists for LeBron were low, but you can make a case he just didn't have enough help, right?
Guys could hit shots, or that would have been higher.
Okay, and meanwhile, LeBron's team was getting blown off the floor by a record finals margin. Plus 72 points were the Spurs in the 5 games because they won game 1 by 15, game 3 and 4 in Miami by 19 and 21, and then the closeout game back in San Antonio by 17. It was a wipeout. And the Spurs set the all-time finals record for making shots from the field at 52%, and they did make 46% of their threes. And yet LeBron, shackled by Kawhi Leonard, as I kept hearing during the series, look at what he did. LeBron, to your point, he made 14 of 27 three-point shots. When has he ever done that? That's sensational. That's 52%. Would you believe that LeBron, from the free throw line in that series, shot 79%, 23 of 29, yet they lost by a record finals margin? And so it's like, well, who do you give the MVP? Do you just flip a coin? Because, I don't know, Patty Mills made the most three-point shots on the team with 13. Should he have been in the running? Maybe.
Well, Tim, you could have easily given it to Skip because you mentioned Tim Duncan was 15 and 10.
Yeah.
He was a double-double.
Okay.
You could have given it to him, or you could have given it to Tony Parker.
Okay, so when that series was over, and I'm a Spurs nut, I couldn't even remember that number 2 played for my team. It's like, was he in this series? Oh, wait, he got the MVP. I guess he did play in this series. I don't know.
I was surprised. Honestly, I really thought Tim Duncan was going to get it. I had no idea that Kawhi Leonard would be the MVP. Now, he did pick it up in games 3, 4, and 5. But considering that how much ground he had given up in the first 2 by just averaging 9, I was like, there's no way he was never even a thought. I thought it was going to be between Tony Parker and Tim Duncan. It never even dawned on me that Kawhi Leonard, until they actually called his name, that he was going to be Finals MVP.
Okay. And I'm going to say this one last time. That series was tied 1-1 going to Miami. And in games 3 and 4, LeBron looked weirdly disengaged, like he wasn't into it like he usually is. I didn't see him attack the way he usually attacks. He scored 22 in game 3 and 28 in game 4, and they just got blown off their home floor, and that was the end of that deal. So I'm just not sure. It didn't seem to have anything to do with hellacious great defense. I think LeBron was looking around saying, I just don't think I got enough here. I can't compete.
Well, first of all, you guys forgot to pay your bills, and so you turned the heat up. There was no air conditioning working in the AT&T or wherever you play at.
Yep.
And so LeBron almost had a heat stroke. He
Loved
cramped
it.
up because he had – look at you. That's a shame, Skip, better talk about you loved it. You know what happened because LeBron James was giving y'all that work until he started suffering from those cramps.
It was the cramp game, and of all the players who played in that game, I don't know how many total played, like close to maybe 20 players, only one cramped. Only one cramped. Would you believe that guy LeBron was the only guy who cramped?
But you know what, Skip? I think he was one of the few guys that had on tights. You know, a lot of these guys wear tights up under their uniform.
Compression
and so
tights.
that might have played. Yes. And so that might have played because it was a lot hotter than normal. Maybe he didn't get the proper hydration. Maybe the sweat, he couldn't recool his body. But for whatever the case, now now all of a sudden you want to believe that he did cramp because before you said, oh, how could he cramp? So what was LeBron James doing that no one else was doing?
Maybe he had psychological cramps. You ever heard of those?
You know what, Skip? There you go. No, I have not ever heard of those.
Yep. I just made it up because it sounded good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You must have been the doctors that was looking at Kevin Durant's MRI because they just made it up about his calf being injured
Maybe.
and not his Achilles.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to what we've seen so far from number 2 in these 5 games.
Okay.
We have seen outstanding from him in 1, right? And what's the next one? 3 and 4, right?
3 and 4?
1, 3, and 4.
Yes.
We've seen outstanding. But in the 2 losses, in 2 and 5, down the stretch, we have not seen outstanding. I'm going to continue to say this thing should be long gone over if he had closed the deal.
Yeah, it could have been over in 4.
It easily could have been over because in game 2, remember, Steph down the stretch of game 2, they lose Clay with 8 minutes left. Steph goes 0 for 0 down the stretch. He can't even get a shot up. They're playing the janky defense, box and one. But meanwhile, it's up to number 2 it's your house. It's your new house. Might be your old house next year. But the point is, you just close that deal. And remember, he went 0 for 3 from 3 in the last 8 minutes. And then in the last minute and a half, he missed 2 jump shots that could have won the game. He did make 2 scoring plays that were controversial because the first one, I thought he had an offensive elbow foul on Draymond. He just elbowed him out of the way, but he got away with an and one. And then the last 2-minute report, the NBA admitted that a foul should not have been called on DeMarcus Cousins when he reached in and stripped number 2 of the basketball. There's 2 more free throws.
But this is what we've seen Kawhi through the entirety of the playoffs. He have yet to put together back-to-back games by your standard, what we would consider a bad game.
And by the way,
and consider
in Game 5 the other night, he had a Jordan-esque flurry, but then the last 3:28, he went quiet, all too quiet. And if he just made 1 shot down the stretch, it's over. We're not even having this conversation. So let's keep it in perspective. He's cost his team a couple of games. Is tonight the one where he pays them back?
He'll deliver.
You think so?
He will deliver. 30 and 10. Yep. He will get that tonight, and he will be Finals MVP, and the Toronto Raptors will no longer be known as the baby dinosaurs.
You better hope.
30 and 10. I'm writing it down. We will find out tonight and talk about it, I'm sure, tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, somebody we've been talking a lot about as of late, Rich Paul. Is he now the most powerful man in the NBA? We'll discuss that up next.
No mercy.
Rich Paul is on the cover of Sports Illustrated this week with the headline, The Kingmaker. Rich is, of course, the head of Clutch Sports, also the agent for LeBron, AD, and others. In the article, Rich talks about what makes the Lakers and Knicks desirable destinations, and he denied reports he was involved in the Lakers coaching search. Interesting article. Shannon, what was your reaction to this article?
Hey, Rich, you need to make sure I get me a signed copy of that cover. That's what you need to do, Rich Paul.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Hey, Skip, how you doing, Skip?
You just declared yourself.
Skip, look, Rich spoke some truth in this article that I feel that he does get held. He get held to a higher standard. He get judged by a different bar than everybody else. And it's because of his relationship with LeBron James. And as he mentioned, Skip, people don't realize David Falk, now his most famous client is Michael Jordan, but he represented over 100 players. He was the central figure behind the lockouts in 1995 and 1998. He, along with Arm Tellem in 98, fought to decertify the union, to break it up. Nobody said a word. Now Rich Paul has a handful of clients. I think he has 28. Now he's a mover and a shaker. Skip, how long has Scott Boras been running professional baseball? Tom Condon, NFL football. But what we see now, we see a young black man. All of a sudden, he has a little power, and everybody is losing it. Skip. Now, remember, David Falk was Danny Ferry's agent. He didn't want to go to the Clippers, Skip. What did tell the people at home what Danny Ferry did when he didn't want to play with the Clippers, and his agent was David Falk? Can you tell the people at home what he did?
You can. Go ahead.
Oh, he went overseas. He said, I refuse to play for the Clippers, and he went overseas.
Yep.
His agent at the time was David Falk.
It was.
Now, Anthony Davis signs with Rich Paul in the summer. And what do Alvin Gentry and Dale Demps do? Try to dissuade him not to sign with him, go somewhere else. He's a bad apple. Where they do that at? Have they ever done that with a client that had a white agent? Said, nah, you shouldn't sign with him. He's a bad deal. Don't do that. The man worked his butt off. Yes, LeBron James has done a great service for some young black men that he trusts. He put them in position. But they've done the groundwork. They've done the legwork. He's built this. This is his company. And I get upset, too, when people say, oh, it's LeBron's. No, it's not. This is Rich Paul. LeBron has his thing. These guys are on their own. Rich Paul is what he can do for Eric Bledsoe, what he did for John Wall. Yes, what he did last year, LeBron James, he wanted to go to the Lakers. Rich Paul helped negotiate that. Now, his number one priority is Anthony Davis. Anthony, what do you want to do? Because at the end of the day, Skip, the agent is the mouthpiece for the player. Rich Paul is not doing anything that Anthony Davis does not want him to do. This was a great article, and it just goes to show you, as Draymond said yesterday, you don't got to play sports anymore to get on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I want my shot at it, too.
Yeah, but you played sports. So.
I don't play now.
So the point here is that would Rich Paul even be an agent without LeBron James if he hadn't had that fateful meeting in the airport when LeBron was, like 17 years of age? You have to put Scott Boras and all the other agents in perspective. That they did make themselves agents. They went to school and they came up the ladder as agents and they got established without a LeBron in their lives, right? Again, David Falk.
But it took that one client. Because remember how Lee Steinberg got started? He and Steve Bartkowski, if I'm not mistaken, were roommates or were college friends. Steve Bartkowski was the number one pick.
They lived on the same dorm floor. Lee was an advisor on the dorm floor. He was older than Bart. And Bart needed somebody to clean up his first contract, so that got Lee off to the races. You was right in the middle of all that. But the point is, in this case, of all the people in LeBron's inner circle, and I have huge respect for Maverick Carter. He is a dynamo. He has brilliant vision, and he has served LeBron beautifully in the marketing, entertainment sides of LeBron's portfolio. He has been gold for LeBron, and I have nothing but respect. And I know Randy Mims doesn't get a lot of public credit, but off camera.
But he runs everything.
He does everything, and he takes care of all the most minor details. He is the glue of that whole operation, and he is a pro's pro. And yet here we have little Richie Paul, and I got to tell you, every once in a while he goes loose cannon on this group, and I'm not sure LeBron always loves the fact that little Richie gets a little full of himself. And even the headline on this, I don't know that LeBron is going to love this. The Kingmaker. Well, I think the king made himself. That's just me. I don't know. It comes across like Rich Paul helped make LeBron. No. It's the other way around. Am I right? And yet. Go ahead.
No, I don't, Skip. We and I both know LeBron James was LeBron James. It just goes to show you is that what LeBron did for Richie, what he did for Randy, what he did for Maverick, is that he put him in position. He's like, guys, I'm going to put you in position.
All right.
What you do from here is on you.
Okay, but do you think LeBron is loving the first line of this story? The most polarizing figure in the NBA is not an owner, player, exec, or even LeBron James. It's Rich Paul. Does LeBron love that? Because I don't think so.
Loves it.
I just don't think so.
I love it.
And some of the quotes are just, I can't even figure out the J-Lo quote. You know, he's comparing the Lakers to J-Lo. Who wouldn't want to date or marry J-Lo? Okay, I get that.
Who wouldn't?
But that's the other side of his mouth, because out of one side of his mouth, he's saying, don't blame me for this. I didn't have anything to do with connecting AD to the Lakers. Well, you facilitated it, and then you tried to strong-arm it, right?
No, hold on, Skip. Hold on. Anthony Davis wanted to get to the Lakers. Anthony Davis wanted out of New Orleans. He went to Dale Demps and said, Dale, we're not going to re-sign. Try to make something happen. Dale Demps, instead of going to a management and says, well, Anthony's agent told us he's not going to resign in the summer. We need to think about moving. What did he do? He goes and tells Anthony Davis he needs to get rid of Rich Paul.
Okay. All right. But a lot of people don't like Rich. A lot of people think he gums up the works more than he smooths them out. So, again, some of these quotes indicate...
Richie Paul...
Yeah, go ahead.
Rich Paul's job is not to smooth out any organization. Rich Paul's job is to be the best advisor representation for his clients. So that's what he does.
Okay. So is it possible he's going a little loose cannon in that he's playing a little bit out of bounds and that LeBron's going to have to rein him back in just a little bit? Maybe.
For what? Hold on. First of all, Skip, LeBron James is a client. Mm-hmm. How you going to rein an agent in?
LeBron.
This has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with LeBron. LeBron has his contract. As Rich said in the article, my number one priority right now is Anthony Davis. Skip, there are going to be times due to the fact that he's building up his clientele, you're going to have some overlap. You're going to have some players that come up at the same time that are very good players, and you're going to have to work equally as hard, equally as diligent for those guys. But right now, the number one priority is Anthony Davis.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it turns out, and we'll see if, in the end, if he can pull this deal off, then I'll be impressed. But so far, he's done more damage than good here.
He gonna pull it off.
Guys. Look at John Wall's contract. Look at Eric Bledsoe.
I've got another agent issue for you to chew on in just a second. Kyrie Irving, is he now a lock to go to Brooklyn? We'll discuss that and his agent up next.
No mercy.
Kyrie Irving is leaving his agent and will join Jay-Z's Rock Nation, that according to ESPN. Kyrie about to hit free agency. Rumors have had him joining either the Nets or the Knicks as a package deal with Kevin Durant, who, by the way, also repped by Rock Nation. The CEO of the Nets is also the brother of the president of Rock Nation. Following all that? Shannon, what does all of this tell you?
Well, this tells me that he's not going back to Boston. Let's just start with that. And the closeness, this family tree, Jen, that you read, he's the brother, the cousin that started this and that. Look, I don't know if he ends up at New York or Brooklyn. We just know definitively he's not going back to the Celtics. Skip, also, Kevin Durant's agent, Rich Kleiman, he helped launch Rock Nation.
He did.
He spun off to focus on 35 Ventures, which is KD exclusive. So maybe this is a pairing that they end up in the same locale, be it Brooklyn or New York. Skip, there's no definitive way to really tell. I mean, because for the longest time, we heard that KD and Kyrie wanted to pair up in New York. Now we're starting to hear that Kyrie really likes Brooklyn, and he's trying to talk KD into coming over to Brooklyn. The one thing that we know absolutely for certain, everything else is speculation at this point, he's not going back to the Boston Celtics.
Okay. I'm with you on that because as a longtime Kyrie fan, I must say I was extremely disappointed in Kyrie's performance this past season. He showed me
the whole season or just the playoffs?
Both. It
Okay.
It was a terrible lack of leadership through the whole year where he tried to distance himself and sort of elevate himself above his teammates, disconnect from his teammates. And then it paid no dividends, obviously, in the postseason. And when he tried to make up for his lack of leadership by just taking over games, he failed repeatedly. And it just showed me he can't fly solo. He does need to be with a LeBron or with a Kevin Durant. I still think he's the best closer in the game, but he needs somebody else to provide the first three quarters or the leadership or take the onus and the focus off him in the big picture. So to your point, he's not going back to Boston because I just think he failed miserably in his quest to show the world, I'll go to Boston and I'll put the Celtics back on the map, because obviously they put themselves back on the map the playoffs before. They got all the way to the seventh game of the conference finals without him. So it's not good for his resume what happened, but it looks like he's just accepted it. It looks like he's just said, okay, I couldn't do that, and I'm going to go here with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, Skip, because remember, Skip, he wanted his own team.
Yep.
He wanted to lead his own team. He was ready for that. But Skip, this is not, because remember, it was reported that in the playoffs his last year in Cleveland, that he went weeks without speaking to any of his teammates.
I got it.
This is not anything new, that he was a mercurial, that sometimes he became very distant, very standoffish from his teammates. So this is who Kyrie Irving is. He's a phenomenal basketball player. We've never seen anybody that has his kind of handle, that can finish at the rim with either hand, can shoot from distance, can shoot from the mid-range game. You foul him, he's going to the free throw line, he's going to make somewhere between 86 and 88% of his foul shots. Skip, he's fantastic. But there's a side of him that says it's going to be very difficult to lead when you're that moody.
Okay. So, do I think he's going to pair up with another really moody superstar in Kevin Durant in either Knicks or Nets? I do. And I still believe that even though the Nets are much better run than the Knicks are, clearly, I still think that Kevin will lean Knicks. That's just a gut feeling I have because Kevin knows how much it would mean for him and obviously also Kyrie to put the Knicks back on the map. They haven't won a championship since 1973, and that's the Mecca. That's Madison Square Garden. I just got a feeling they would lean that direction. So I don't think all these Rock Nation connections mean absolutely they're going to Brooklyn. I don't believe that yet.
Right. Well, Skip, the Nets hadn't been good since Dr. J.
Yep.
So that would be phenomenal if Kyrie and KD linked up there and brought the Nets back to respectability.
It's going to be an interesting offseason, an interesting free agency season all the way around. All right, up next here on Undisputed, will Tiger Woods win another U.S. Open crown this weekend? We're going to make predictions up next.
No mercy.
Time for our final topic of the day. Coming up in about 30 minutes right here on FS1, we've got first-round coverage of the U.S. Open from Pebble Beach. Tiger Woods tees off at 5:09 Eastern today, going for his 4th U.S. Open title. Shannon, what shot do you give Tiger to win it all?
Well, considering that's where he had his most dominating of major victories, Skip, I'm going to give him a 10% chance. Skip, he's number 1 in greens and regulations, but he's 60th in driving accuracy. That's really not a good combination. And as long as he can keep the driver in the bag, I like his chances with the irons. But Koepka is on a tremendous run. Skip, if he would have followed this up with his 3rd straight, Skip, this might be the greatest accomplishment in the last 30, 40 years. But I give Tiger a 10% chance of winning if he can keep the driver in the bag.
I give Tiger a 49% chance of winning because I think we're going to have a repeat of the PGA 2 years ago, or last year, I'm sorry, in St. Louis when, do you remember what happened down the stretch? Brooks Koepka held off Tiger Woods to win by 2.
Yeah.
We'll see this all over again because Brooks Koepka is a robot monster. He is the only guy out there mentally tough enough to stand up to and hold off Tiger Woods. I think Tiger's going to play great, but not great enough.
Well, the thing is, Dustin Johnson, he's long, and you need these irons to be in play, and it seems like everybody feels very comfortable using those irons. Can Tiger Woods
mentally tough enough.
not use the driver?
We gotta go, guys. We're out of time. That's it for us. We're back tomorrow on FS2 because U.S. Open action is on FS1 all day tomorrow. Have a great Thursday.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.